think it's Zoom. I think it's my laptop. It's getting interference. It's not very fast. I hope everybody's well. I think I'm just going to do one card this evening. Been feeling well all day long. Okay, we got some fill out. Let's just take from the top. Yeah, because, well, I guess I can talk about a little bit about this. Maybe I'll do a second card as I talk about some of this stuff. Okay. For the first card, it's consequences of fake accusations of sexual assault, fake news. It's, believe me, it's the same thing. Coming from the same source and the same agenda. So, you know, it's the consequences of all of the people who are lying for real victims of domestic violence. Okay, this one, it has the accusation against Governor Cuomo. I believe it was during their divorce. I'm just assuming, by Carrie Kennedy locking herself in the bathroom, and that this was proof that Governor Cuomo was an abusive husband. Oh gosh, I'm feeling great, and they really gave me some real good cards. Okay. So, well, the second pile is Women's March. I'll go into that. The third pile, Mike Lindell, business owner. So I'll go in more into the business stuff. So anyway, back to the first one. Locking myself in the bathroom. That, because I talked about in the last one, gosh, why did they throw this at me? So I talked about in the last one how, you know, I had locked myself in the bedroom and put all of these barriers because I was afraid of him getting through. However, I know the flip side of that. And this whole thing about, you know, locking themselves. My mother did it for a whole week. And I'm going to assure you, it was not because she was afraid. She was having a little temper tantrum. And it was, I can assure you, you know, by this time, all of us were like, yeah, what is it? You're trying to be the drama queen that you're going to commit suicide. So, and this was a consequence of, we had gone into see the useless absolutely useless. Psychiatrist, marriage count, if the psychiatrist would listen a little bit more, then things would be different for victims. Psychiatrist, psychologist, because he had told us, okay, here, you can say what you want. And so we said where the problems were. Now, maybe if he'd listened to us, then he would have realized the real problem in my family was my mother and not my father. But of course, so we said what we had to say. She didn't like it, so she threw a tizzy fit. A week. Not in the bathroom, in her bedroom. I mean, I by this time, I knew the game. I was like, oh God, your little temper tantrums. It's a lot about a lot of things, but power and control, and I can assure you, the people who actually do commit suicide, they're not the drama queens. So I don't know anything else about that occurrence, other than that one thing that I read, that I saw in, on the internet and the news back years ago. But these are the type of things that really, really, really anger me. That particularly somebody like Gary Kennedy, who does have a voice, who does have influence, would make fake accusations. Because as I say, it doesn't fit. This is why it's important to look at the background of the person, their families, and again, don't judge a person by their family, because I don't want anybody judging me by, people in my family. So you have to, however you and in my case, it's well, yeah, she's willing to speak out and say, it's not good. It's not good. Doesn't end up well for anybody. That I'm not willing to buy into it, I guess, is please a point in my favor. But it is important to look at, all of the different aspects, because women lie. Women lie. I mean, men lie as well, but particularly, I guess narcissistic women as well as or psychopathic lie as often as narcissistic and psychopathic men. Well, maybe more. Let's just say they're more adept at it. So, you know, I've gone into this, I don't know how many times, but this is one of the crux of why I'm sitting here canceled by everybody else, is that I won't buy into women are good and always the victims, and men are bad and always the perpetrators, because it's simply not true. So I've also got Gloria all read. I'm not sure, because I did contact, send an email to Gloria Allred, but I don't know if I'm yet on her radar. You know, I know Carrie Bettinger Lopez knows me. A lot of them know me, but that's more in the academic community. I'm not sure that Gloria Allred knows me, my work, and what I'm doing. Let's just put it this way, we're not friends. In a world where the only thing that counts is being friends. So there's too much polarization of we're on your side or we're on the other side, and not let's find out really what's happening in this situation. And a lot of that has to do with, you know, the feminist movement, women, the ruling elite women, upper crust, whatever you want to call them, women, being obsessed with their careers and not about the social order, their families, their children, and this does not render a woman submissive or a bimbo. Believe me. I mean, you know, yes, I believe me, I know that. I know that model, and I know those families, and I can assure you it's not going to end well for them at all. But that's not, you know, that's not a healthy model or paradigm for the community, for the society, for the family, for the women, the men, or the children. Yes, I'm a radical, but excuse me, when Nancy Reagan came in the 80s, all of that, because I talk about the real real people who have been, you know, ruling this city, not the ones that you guys think. I mean, she, you know, she was, everything trickled down, stockmen, everything was considered radical because we'd had the civil rights movement, but she just stepped in and said, yeah, okay, it's radical, but that's the way it's going to be. So, you know, yes, I'm radical. I'm radical compared to the radical right and left who you know, who have seized power in this city. You know, as I've said, Ethel Kennedy. Ooh, I mean, Ethel Kennedy is a piece of work. I think she's probably worse than Nancy Reagan. At least Patty Davis, reflected. She went through, some shit, which anybody who outside say works through the trauma of living in that situation and decides that this is not right, and because it doesn't happen overnight, this is not right, and I'm not gonna live like this. So, sure, a lot of these people like Patty Davis. I talked about Mackenzie Phillips. Oh, God, breaks my heart for that woman. Really does. But at least these people went through a lot of pain to go there, to because it's not easy to really take a hard look at what's going on around you. And that's why they go shopping, that's why they go to parties, that's why they, let's just go out and have fun, let's go out and have fun, so we don't have to deal with the realities of life and the pain that it brings us. So, as I say, people like Patty Davis, people like Mackenzie Phillips, Paris Hilton, Tatum O'Neal, they were broken people, but they survived and they moved forward. And I think that, that takes courage. Maybe people don't think that they survived how they should have. But they went through shit, real shit. Just because they had money and fame and all that crap doesn't mean they didn't go through shit. So I guess I'm kind of going off about that, but Gloria, let's just say, yes, Gloria and I, Allred and I are not friends. And I'm sure she doesn't like me, but I don't like her. So we're even Steven. And if Gloria Allred and her friends weren't afraid of me, then why would nobody be giving, why aren't they giving me a voice? Let's sit down and debate the issues. Court of law or up on our podium. Can we just not have a huge audience? Only thing I ask. Okay, second card, Women's March. Because I already went, because here I have the California Child Protective Parents Association. I already went on, into that. And then Mothers of Lost Children, with Connie Valentine in California. This the CCPPA. I'll tell you, sometimes I'm like, you guys, ladies, come up with smaller acronyms, because people can't, when you get them too long. Paola Lucas did that with the American Overseas Domestic Crisis center. Yeah, try and keep it down to 3, maximum 4, because people don't retain it. So anyway, then mothers of lost children. Now, mothers of lost children, they, and as I had said before, I don't even know who is the head of that and the leadership in that organization. And they're the ones who organize that. What Connie was involved in that. So the demonstrations and the different, because you need permits. So that, see, there's just too many different factions in that group, which brings me to the Women's March. I think I already did talk about this. When, by the time the Women's March came along, after Trump entered into office, and I had been telling everybody ad nauseum what was going to happen if they didn't mobilize, and had been, I know I talked about this as well, I've been passing by, it was the Women's National Democratic Club in Washington. It's in DuPont Circle. I mean, I pass by all the time on my way back and forth. So I go in the night before of the elections, and everybody's partying and celebrating, and I'm like, don't count your chickens before they're hatched. Oh, I wasn't liked. So anyway, that's new to Courier. I wasn't liked anymore the next day when I stopped by and I said, told you so. Can we talk? Oh, no. We don't like what you have to say. So, by the time the Women's March came along, I had already thrown up my hands with the domestic violence and the feminists and all of those different factions in Washington, the United States, and globally, because, I've been working globally. So I was like, oh, no, I am not going to bother waste my time going down to those demonstrations and finding out who's your leadership. Can we sit down and talk? Can we? Because Elizabeth Warren, I saw her out there on that, and I'm like, gosh, Elizabeth Warren, I think she made me put one of those hats on her head. So I was really disgusted by the Women's March, really, 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 because it was, and I don't follow them. I've seen, a couple of articles over the years, but yeah, it's infighting, it's backstabbing, it's bitchery, it's the different, factions of agendas of the Black, browns, and yellows. Whites, Black, browns, and yellows. And infighting, and just bitchery. Believe me, I could write a whole book on all of the bitchery and the backstabbing that I saw from 2009 to 2015 with all of these family court victims, activists, experts that are in there. And it is a money-making industry. That's why, I've never, war on domestic terrorism, I have a donation button, but no money's ever come in there, and I don't solicit money. And I don't have an NGO. I don't have, because it's a conflict of interest. And if you want any donor money, you got to be liked. Nobody likes me. Particularly not the ladies out there. Oh, they really don't like me. So the Women's March, my God, these ladies are freaking crazy. As I say, I haven't followed totally their agendas, but it's just power for the women. We want to dominate the world. We want to control the world. We want to castrate all of the men out there. And we're, but it's just for the power hungry women. It's not for the majority of women out there. So basically it's a Nazi feminist group. And they are Nazis. They're control freaks. The norms and customs, and it can be in the workplace, it can be with the expat wives clubs and the country clubs, in the shopping malls, in the restaurants where let's do lunch, everywhere. So okay, the third card was Mike Lindell, business owner. Okay. Yeah, he's a good example of a businessman in the United States. Good for business. Yeah, right. Okay. So let's see. So he was a college dropout, as was Bill Gates, as was Mark Zuckerberg. And I have to agree with them to a certain degree that what do I need this for? It's just a piece of paper. I can go out there and make a shitload of money without having the piece of paper, the degree. I mean, I do have a bachelor's. Actually, that's another story. Maybe I should put that in the comments. But I do have a bachelor's in business administration. Just because I was like, I know that I need that piece of paper for when I get into the labor markets. But I wasn't impressed. I mean, I was so much less impressed with my college education than I was with the education I had at Cobham or at Foxcroft. Although I did have some very good professors at GW. They were fewer. One I loved, it was an elective, was the English Lit. Unfortunately, by the time the second course came around, I mean, there was tons of reading. And yeah, if I had been working full time, I would have been, delighted, because I loved the course and the dialogue of the teacher. It was very, very interesting. But so as I say, there were some really, really good. The other was a international poli-sci, international politics. That was my senior year. Commercial law. business environment. He was also really, really good. Well, I guess I should put that story in there. So as I say, there were a few good men. Because one of the worst was the calculus teacher that I had. I think that was my senior year. I was like, what's this bullshit? I even remember I had a discussion with Philip Goldentire because he said, oh, yeah. She's really good because she sits there and she explains the theorem. I said, I don't give a shit about how they derived the theorem. I want to know how I apply this when I'm working my calculations. I don't give a shit. That's the theory. I want to know how this is the application. I mean, this is an undergrad calculus course. I mean, for me, she was like one of the, well, Mr. Hemingway at Foxcroft, that was the pre-calculus. Everybody told me he was so great. I mean, see, this is another, he apparently, I mean, when I had him, useless. And he was getting really, really old. Of course, I mean, I didn't, go into science. That it wasn't a deal breaker for me. But I mean, it's important who the teachers are. So anyway, just because you have a college degree, that'll make you God. And particularly the PhDs and the MBAs. Because you all think you're God. And most of you have your head where the sun don't shine. As my father told me a couple of years before his passing, he said, it's not only the mistakes that people are making now, it's all of the mistakes that they've been building upon from the past. And he was right. I mean, he was in the medical community, the physical science, but the same thing has gone on within the social sciences. So our great icon, just like Trump, these are the great businessmen in our country. Trump loyalist, of course. So let's see, he has gambling and cocaine addiction problems. And this is the businessman that we that they give money to. Bankruptcy building businessman. I mean, that's, and this is why, with the Fed, the $3 trillion that was injected during the COVID under the carpet. No, everybody's, in crisis mode, so nobody even notices the $3 trillion that they slipped in of taxpayers' money. It's because there's so many incompetent business, bankruptcy business building people out there. And as I show with Trump, they can have a lot of zeros after their name and their net debt, or they can have a few, like my sister and a lot of other people that I know. I wonder if I know anyone who is not over indebted. With buying bullshit, absolute bullshit. My favorite story is when we were, we were still in Bogota. Some friends of ours, they're from the French embassy. He is French, she's Paraguayan. I mean, you talk about a piece of work, but I mean, she would buy, her life was shopping and social climbing and silver. And every time I came over to their house, well, their apartments, because we all lived in apartments for security stuff, she would show me this new, silver platter or that she had bought. And this, this is the high-end place. You could get some places, some stuff, but this is the high-end, which it was better quality. But I mean, the place was absolutely filled. And I mean, that was just one, because the clothes for the kid, just everything. Spend. I think she had 3 maids. And a lot of them would ask me, and I mean, it was a revolving door. They would say, "Senora, do you have a job for me?" And I'm like, well, no, I don't need anybody. Because I didn't have a revolving door. Oh, Mary Beth. Mary Beth, I don't know where you are, but I would love to have you back. So, but I mean, I felt for a lot of these the domestic workers. They are people. They are human beings. They deserve respect. They're working for you. Like with any kind of company, organization, or whatever. Yes, they're working for you, and they're receiving a salary. But but they're also living, I mean, in these situations, they're also living with you. I mean, these are like, I mean, for us, we grew up, it was Julia. I mean, for me, she was, somebody of the family, just like Mary Beth. And deserves respect. So anyway, I mean, I felt for these poor girls because, and it would come and go and come and go and come and go, of course. And she would always complain about how she couldn't find good help. Like, well, yeah, of course. When she told me, sorry, but this gets into labor rights issues. When she told me, because she had one woman who just did the ironing. Now, my thing with ironing, except for, my husband's shirts, to go to work or something like that, I'm like, you know what, you guys, you throw it in the dryer, even if it's already, air dried, you throw it in the dryer for 5 minutes. It's okay. Not everything has to be ironed. Even the underwear. But not only everything, but on the reverse side, and both sides. So they'd have to put it up, inside out and iron it, and then put it. I mean, just from a practical side, what a waste of money. I'm like, you know what? Dryers are really good for that. As I say, unless it's, your husband's shirt to go to the office, things like that. There are certain things that, and believe me, I'm a fantastic ironer. One of my fortes in life. I actually enjoy ironing. I mean, people laugh at me, but I do enjoy ironing. Like, doing my artwork. And when I was young, we had a work schedule for us girls, because my mom, well, after Julia left, when we got older, my mom decided, oh, these girls are much cheaper than a maid. And so we had a work schedule. We would have to all work on the weekends. It was a big clean. But during the week, one of us was responsible for the laundry. Another was supposed to help in the kitchen with my mom, for dinner and afterwards, and cleaning up. Another was general, just kind of general, because there was 3 of us. And I would always trade my month with my sisters for the ironing, particularly I want to be working in the kitchen with mom. So every month there would be negotiations. And I would say, I'll do your ironing, because they didn't like ironing. I'm like, I'll do all the ironing every month, and you guys do stuff. So yeah, as strange as it might seem, I like the iron. And you have a really good iron shirt. See, that's another job I could do. So anyway, I kind of got off the track there, but the business community, Department of Commerce, Federal Trade Commission. I don't think that one has come up. That's come up. That's an interesting one. Under the one under Trump. What was his name? Simons. So we need good businesses. We need good banking systems. We need good financial markets. All of these instruments are necessary and important, but not empowering the gambling and cocaine addicts and bankruptcy building businessmen, because that is what is being empowered. I mean, I think 2 plus years. And I mean, I leave no stone unturned when I go through something. And I went through all the capital of interest in the United States. I mean, I went into Wikipedia, then Googled it, all of the, how shall I say, the major ones, but across the United States, and then went into all of those different companies and all of the different bios of the different people. So I did target It wasn't a form letter that I sent out. I mean, I targeted specifically this person, that person. I looked in what people were investing in, what kind of, projects they would give money to. And so really only targeted the social media people. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to target somebody who's into high tech stuff. I mean, that's not my product. So, I targeted my niche of where I am. Never, oh gosh, there's one Indian woman, gosh, I forget her name, Smita, I forget. Piece of work. She's got this whole unicorn stuff going on. When I heard about this unicorn, I mean, really, 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 Silicon Valley. Let's just build, one flew over the cuckoo's nest psychiatric ward for these people, because they got a whole bunch of freaking wacko stuff going on in there. I mean, really, when I got into that, I was like, how do you make your investment decisions? Well, I kind of got an answer. There was two guys, Indian guys, that came to me. That was when I was living at Fort Totten. One of them was really interested in the project. The other was like not interested. The only thing that they were interested in, and these are the only people that I actually like sat down and spoke with about handling the technology, the website side of it. And all they wanted to do was a cool idea. Oh yeah, because this gives us an angle, but we're going to develop all of this cool technology and then turn around and sell it and make a profit out of it. And it was get in, get out, get in, get out, get in, get out, get in, and get out, and make your profits like that with, cool techie stuff. And I'm like, I'm not interested. By this time I got into this and looking at it 2015, 2016. So obviously technology has advanced, and the platform, back then would have necessitated, lots of gurus. Now you got open source, you got, it's quite easy to put that together. But all they wanted, and I was the one who was the business bimbo, because I was like, wait a second, I'm not trying to get something built here to turn around and in 18 months be able to sell it for profit. I'm looking for somebody to put together a platform that will provide the communication system that's needed for the rest of the project. I mean, we were so much on different pages that it wasn't even funny. So I was like, well, okay, at least now I understand why nobody in Silicon Valley or McLean, Virginia, there's also, that's another place. New York is a big hub for it. But I also looked, and I did talk to a couple of people, I mean, online chats, LinkedIn or Facebook, or I forget where, about the project. and again, they were interested, but, oh yeah, when you're making money, let me know. Well, when I'm making money and I've already got the platform up, I'm not going to need you. What I need is, somebody to put the platform on together to come in as a partner. And of course, you guys have a hell of a lot more experience in putting together a business. I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, this is one of the things when I was doing the market research in Bogota for exporting our artisan products from there. Okay, my first thing, what am I gonna have to do to start a business? Because I have to have a business structure if I'm gonna get involved in that. So I went to all, okay, here I need a license, here, there I need this, there they need that. So, it's not rocket science, that part of it. But there are people who oh yeah, I know how to do that, like, and this whole thing about having it all. I'm gonna do it all, and it's all for me. It's self-destructive and it's counterproductive. I've seen it time and time again. So, the business community in this country, and former Senator Bennett Johnston, he was on the small business committee, or a big wig on small business in the United States. I mean, one of the things that I want to dismantle is the corporate power that there is in this country. And it's not that difficult to do. And if I haven't put him in there, I'm going to have to put him in there. Harvey Eisenberg, one of the top merger and acquisition lawyers in this country. He told me, I think this was this was like my freshman year, I think, I was doing macro, micro economics, which, another thing, I was like, well, see, I would either usually read the book or listen in class and be like, well, okay, when I didn't fall asleep, I got it. And here's what you guys were teaching. So those classes were, I had to say all of my freshman year classes. Yeah, okay, I was out partying all the time. My mother had me locked up for all, So I was like, oh, here's another party here, the frat houses or whatever. Yeah, I went wild my first semester. But it was backlash to the oppressive paradigm of my childhood and adolescence. But also, I was like, well, my parents were paying at this point. And I was like, because afterwards, when I'm paying, and having to work, okay, not minimum wage, a little bit more minimum wage, it's a different ball game. And you're like, excuse me, this much money for this bullshit? So yeah, I partied I mean, I wasn't one of these party hardy girls, but well, not in the sense that Cornelia was. Not at all. But that was over, and also it gets really, really, really old after a while. So anyway, but Bennett Johnston, he's going to be in for a wake-up call, as is Hunter Johnston, as well. I went on to Harvey Eisenberg, because I did contact Harvey in 2007. He had some really, really serious health issues, so I understand that. But I was like, Harvey, you're gonna kill me, and the lawyers are burying me. Can you recommend? I need a lawyer in Spain who knows what the hell they're doing. So he was another one that I contacted. And of course, I mean, I did, when Maria Jose Carrascosa, her case, this was, I think when she was liberated, that was 2014, 2015. Long story, her case, Bergen County, New Jersey. She needed a lawyer to represent her in the hearing to get out. Now, nobody, she's known within the network of all the activists, which there are a lot of lawyers out there. Nobody went to represent her. She asked me if I knew somebody. I'm like, of course not. We're all looking for somebody. And then I recontacted Harvey's office, because they're in New York. Left a message, of course, no response. Harvey, I don't expect you to go down there, but can you send one of, the kids, associates, the new hires that you have, just to go in and represent this woman? Everybody who walks into a courtroom, civil or penal, should have representation, and somebody with a frickin' brain and knows something about the frickin' law. Just the basic fundamentals would be nice. No. But what I couldn't understand, well, also, I'll get into Maria Jose Carrascosa right now. But I mean, this woman had been 8 years in jail under contempt of court. And the court had no jurisdiction, because the jurisdiction was in Spain. The jurisdiction was not in New Jersey. And I don't know what the lawsuit on that, but the judge finally found out. Went through several judges. And I think that's also, they knew they were up shit's creek without a paddle. Because when this woman got out, she was going to have one frickin' lawsuit against them. But 8 years. And she's a lawyer. She filed habeas corpus petitions every single year, rejected. And as I say, New Jersey didn't have standing in that case. They did not. And this is going on all of the time. All of the time. I mean, as I say, I won't, because this is another Yeah, she was a victim, but what the frickin' ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching since she's been out. So anyway, you know, that it goes all over the place. And Harvey, for example, Philip Goldentire, he told me, mutual friend of ours, he told me, he said, "Oh, Harvey, you'll go far." And I agreed. And Harvey told me, this is what I started with the econ class. I'm taking macro and micro. And he said, econ is easy. It's just common sense. And he was right. And as I say, really, really smart guy. But just because you're smart, you can do a lot of damage, or you can do a lot of good. And you know, he's somebody, he's another person, he's been in the system, he helped build the house of cards, and I know he's smart enough and knows a lot of, you know, of course I'm not going to know. I see the big picture. I see what's going on here, but this is where you need the experts to come in and know all the details. And yeah, he's a smart guy, but you know, and rags to riches story. And for people like that, I have empathy, because I know they can be, you know, how shall I say, seduced by the luxury and fine wine and dining and everything that goes with it. But at a certain point, you have to take a hard look and say, you know, is this what it's about? So, you know, as I say, again, he's a good guy, but I didn't come back to Washington to make friends or to be liked or to like people. I mean, I may like people, but at the same time, you're doing something wrong. And I'm sorry, you might be, you know, not a real prick or whore or bitch, but I don't care. Washington shouldn't be about who likes who and who wants to be friends with who. This is our nation's capital. Okay. Call me crazy. See anybody else? Okay, I'm just gonna do one. Okay, I got the Joker. I don't know, I've been feeling well today. So well, that's why I haven't even talked about 9/11. Yeah, it's hurting my stomach even to think about it. Okay, so that's what I haven't been feeling. No, this is not. I'm not doing well today. Okay, just one more. Okay, for the consequences of fake accusations of sexual assault, sexual harassment, whatever you want to. I mean, it's a matter of semantics, if you will. Sure. Somebody who slaps you is not the same thing as somebody who kills you or rapes you, of course. And in fact, I got angry one time with these assholes. And I marched because we got Mount Pleasant Road, and there's always these cops out on the street and everything. And I went out and I said, you know what? You're lucky because I didn't find a cop out there because I didn't want to call 911 on you. But I was willing to find one of these guys and say, you better leave this woman alone. Unfortunately, the guy wasn't there, but I was talking to another police officer another time. And I said, look, you know, because he said, no, if there's violence, some sort of altercation, we have to arrest the person. I said, well, it depends on what kind of violence, because sometimes I want to slap the bitch myself. Now, I don't condone that. I don't condone that. But if you come and you find some bitch that's just pushing his buttons, take him around the block, don't arrest him. And get some bitch policewoman in there to give the third degree to the little bitch that's inciting him. I don't condone any kind of violence, but sometimes I want to slap the bitch myself. So, you know, there's a spectrum there. And that spectrum has to be examined instead of polarized like the feminists are trying to do. So Alice, little wonderland of Alice, says, then hand round the plum cake monster. Well, I don't know what the plum cake is, but maybe it's bullshit. Just hand it around and hand it around and hand it around, and we can produce cacophony and get them to believe anything that we want. So for the Women's March, it's the White King again. Okay, that's, where did my glasses go? Okay, that's the effect of living backwards. It always makes one a little giddy at first. Oh, the feminists, they do make me giddy. And living backwards, oh Lord, they've been doing it from the beginning. Okay, so for the bankruptcy building businessmen, there's another one. Mike Lindell, we've got beware the jabberknot, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. I mean, this is a big pile. We seem to always be getting the same ones. I haven't kept track of these, but okay. And for me, with the Joker, I don't know, am I being a joker? Tweedledum said Tweedledee had spoiled his nice new rattle. Yeah, well, everybody, I don't know. All I wanted to do was start a company. I mean, this is where I'm like, excuse me, where's the difference between the poor American in Spain woman who just wants to start a company to provide for her children? Okay, it wasn't a weaving, endeavor in some village, but that's all I wanted to do. And what does he do? He comes in and crashes my sewing machine. Okay, my sewing machine is a website, but where's the difference? There is none. Just like the bankruptcy building businessmen have more zeros than the bankruptcy building business woman, my sister. Yeah, okay, my project had more zeros than you know, some poor woman in a village who's gonna sew clothes or bake bread to provide for her family. But the principles are no different. And I mean, everybody's been on board. I mean, as I say, everybody has the right for defense. Everybody can explain themselves. Of course, but they need to explain themselves. Because, you know, as I said in another video, I'm not so egocentrical that everybody's against me. No, they do this all the time. It's called habitual custom. If anybody in the international development community read their reports, they would be familiar with that term. But of course, the only thing they do is churn out the reports and ha 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 ha, gimme, gimme, gimme money. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to be talking about 9/11 and yeah, this evening, not this evening. Okay, so have a nice evening. Where's the mask? So again, wear your masks. It's incredible in Washington, the quantity of people who are out without masks. I mean, you know, I just grocery store and my walks. But you know, at least in the stores, you have to have them. But walking around the street, and because I walk through Adams Morgan, so there's a lot of restaurants and things like that. I have to go out on the street because the people on the sidewalk don't have masks on or anything. I mean, okay, it's the bicycle lane, but still the bicycle people don't like me on their path. I mean, this is the nation's capital. Everybody here should be setting an example. And what example are they setting? Screw you. The only person in this world that's important is me. If this doesn't change, we will end up in a bloodbath. Okay, so have a nice evening. Good night. Bye-bye.